Good evening. The zoning board of appeals for the town of New Canaan will come to order on January 6th, 2025 at 7 PM. When we call your case, we ask that each presenter come up to the lectern, identify themselves and the property in question, state your request of the board, and identify your hardship and the reasons for the request. Remember, your hardship cannot be financial in nature. It runs with the land and is peculiar to your property. The board will then ask questions of you, after which you will sit down and we will give those present a chance to speak. You will then be given an opportunity to answer any questions or sum up your request. We record the meeting, so everyone must speak into the microphone and state their name. The board will then go into the business session, discuss and make a decision. There are 5 more voting members on the board, and it takes 4 positive votes to be granted a variance. The first matter I'd move to do is I move to amend the agenda to have the election of officers.
Second.
In favor?
Yes.
All in favor. And then I move to see Alex and Chad as members tonight.
Second.
Okay. Okay. So the 2 officers are President, Chairman and Secretary.
Yeah, so why don't we start, since that's my one role on this board is to run your officer elections. If I could get nominations for the office of chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Luke.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any further nominations for the office of chair? Seeing none, if all those in favor of Luke Tashian as chair of the zoning board of appeals? Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Congratulations, Luke.
Less tension than last time.
All right, and then office of secretary. Do I have any nominations for the office of secretary?
You want to press it?
It's a little challenging for me with work to
That's what I thought, but
Okay,
just do that because we have to get the things signed. So is Cynthia
Yeah,
unwilling to
that's
do
my
it again?
issue.
I don't know.
No, I think she's willing to. She said no issues.
Okay,
I would nominate Cynthia.
I would second it then.
I have never done that, and then I hope she's okay with being nominated. I guess we'll give her, I'll give
That's
her
what
an
happens when
out
you
if she
don't
didn't,
show
yeah, she wasn't here. Okay, so we have a nomination by Jessica and a second by Luke. Any other nominations for the office of secretary? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Pass in favor.
It's unanimous. Okay, so if we could just confirm that she's all right with continuing on in that role, that would be great. All right, well, thank you all for all your work over the last year. While I don't come to your meetings, I actually watch every single one of them. So thank you again for all your service. It's
Got
a
to
lot
dress better now that I know.
yeah. All right.
Thank
Well,
Thank you.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Okay. So our first matter on the agenda tonight, 995 South Ave was withdrawn by the applicant. 29 Knapp Lane, was withdrawn by the applicant. So new matter, is 106 Logan Road.
They forgot to send their notices, so they've been pushed to February.
Okay. So the next matter, 60 Southwood Drive. So you have all the mailing notices?
Correct.
Okay. 60 Southwood Drive zoning variance upon application of Sarah E. McElroy, owners for a variance of section 3.5.E and 3.5.F. In section 3.5.E to permit a second-story addition on a non-conforming structure that does not comply with the 25-foot side yard height requirement in the A residence zone at 60 Southwood Drive, map J, block 51, lot H106. So Sarah,
Yes,
and
and this is my husband Matt, he's co-owner of the property.
do you want to come up and
I would love
introduce
to.
yourself
Thank
and
you.
then,
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Sarah McElroy. I am one of the co-owners of 60 Southwood Drive, and this is my husband Matt, also co-owner. And I brought pictures. You can't just sit them around. Because it's one thing to talk about the property, but I think it's easier to see it. So we have owned 60 Southwood Drive for 5.5 years. In that time, we grew from a family of 3 to 5. So we have outgrown our current house, which is a 3-bedroom ranch that was built in the 1960s along with the other houses on Southwood Drive. At this time, we're seeking to build a 2nd-story addition in order to accommodate our growing family and sort of just modestly update so that we can live according to the modern standards of a family of 5. So if you look at slide 2, you can see Southwood Drive and the sort of surrounding neighborhood. Our lot shape is identified in red on the GIS map. And you can see that it's sort of a triangular polygon in shape, 214 feet across the front, according to our survey, and along the back, it's only 47 feet. So whereas most of the lots on Southwood Drive, you can see are rectangular or square in nature, ours is very oddly shaped. In addition, if you kind of see this call out on the bottom left, you can see that most of the property boundaries on our house run diagonal to the house itself. So only one of those property boundaries is parallel to the existing structure. And then if you go back to this sort of larger zoomed out map, you can see that the lot itself is very uniquely situated. You can see that property owned by the town of New Canaan is surrounding our house on most sides. So behind our house is the woods that abut South School, which is very convenient for us because we have little kids. And across Farm Road is New Canaan High School, and it's in between our property at Southwood Drive and Farm Road. There's just a tiny little strip of land that has woods on it that is owned by the town that just sort of buffers our house from the road. So if you kind of go to the next slide, you can see that our house is legally non-conforming as to both of the existing side yard setbacks. So like I mentioned, our house was built in 1966. At that time, the side yard setbacks were 10 feet and they were subsequently amended in the A zone to 15 feet. Our house, as you can see on the survey, which is on the left, our house is situated just about 10 feet from the northern boundary, which is on the left side of the house. And on the right side of the house, that rear southern corner is 12 feet from the property line. So it's non-conforming as to both of the existing setbacks on the side yard setbacks. And then on the right, you can just see how that sort of maps onto the existing house. So along the entire left side of the house, there's about 5 feet of the house that are that's non-conforming. And then just that rear back corner of the house on the right side of the house is outside of the existing setback. So when we started to plan this renovation, we realized that we had a really rough time figuring out something that was going to work because of our lot shape, which, like I mentioned, is polygon, sort of triangular, and the zoning regulations were amended after our house was built to be more stringent. So if you combine like our lot shape, which is on this picture in the survey, you can see our house is denoted in that yellow outline. The current setbacks for building a 2nd story with that 25 feet height yard, the side yard setback for height, excuse me, is in that green. So the only allowable space we have on our property is where those green, that green outline and the yellow outline combine. So if you were to view it as a Venn diagram, we have very little space on our property to go up. It's been very challenging to figure out an addition that would work in that little area of the house. We can't really build into the front yard because that doesn't work with the neighborhood. And we don't want to build into our next door neighbor's front yard. And we also don't want to build into the backyard and really can't because of how narrow it gets back there. So we have run into a very tricky situation. And then if you go on the next slide, slide 5, I sort of just laid out what we are actually proposing to do here. We have spent almost a year, coming up in February, almost a year trying to figure out what the best way to do this is. Yep. We've gone through 2 designers and more tens of thousands of dollars than I would like to admit. But this is the best proposal that we have been able to arrive at. So on the top picture, you can see that the addition we are proposing to put on top of our current house is like mapped onto what it currently looks like.
Is there a survey?
Yeah. In the record, you mean?
Yes, if you go to the application, I believe, yeah, I'll just share my screen.
Sorry.
No.
What's this under on the application?
It is the 60 Southwood Drive, 120424 model.
Oh, okay, the model, okay.
Yeah, so that is basically the graphic that I shared with you a moment ago with that yellow outline combined with the green outline is basically, that's just a snapshot of the survey and how those things overlay on there. It's easier to see with the colors than just a bunch of lines. Any other questions on the survey that I can address? Okay, so as you can see, based on slide 5, you can see the addition mapped out onto our current existing structure. We are proposing to build up. We don't want to build out on the sides. It's already pre-existing non-conforming. So this proposal is able to maintain those setbacks. We're not going to create new non-conformities in the side yard or expand the non-conformities that already exist. And then you can also see on the bottom picture, we have crafted the addition in such a way that the second floor roof line is offset from the outer wall on both sides. So there's this like terraced step back approach. And we did this very intentionally to narrowly tailor, I guess I should say, our proposal to be minimize the loom over our next door neighbors who are behind us as much as possible and sort of align with the spirit of the code, which wants to minimize this building loom against our neighbors. And then you can turn the page to slide 6. That's what our proposal looks like. And then what we're here to ask for today is relief from the 25-foot side yard height setback, which only relates to this red rectangle. It's a roughly 2-foot portion that we have not been able to kind of get around. We specifically made sure that these side wings, those step back portions are under the 25-foot height requirement. So those are like dormered inside, but they comply with the height requirement, and the overall structure complies with the 35-foot height requirement. It's just this 2-foot portion that we have been unable to work around, and that's what we're here to ask for a variance for today. Any questions on kind of how that factors in?
Is this the mid-roof setback issue that's coming up?
No, so not mid-roof, just, you have your side yard setbacks, but then in the B-res, A-res, third acre zone, there's kind of the restricted area where, in this case, I think it's between 15 and 25 feet of the property line, you have to be lower than everywhere else. So this is still total building height.
Okay,
Yeah,
Put in the side yard.
okay.
It's only in this side yard.
that's right.
Got it. So it's not that one where we have like the mid-roof issues.
No.
No, that's gonna comply as well.
Okay.
Now, it's Rich Carey too, so question, so
Sure.
I understand. What was the problem of making it 2 feet sort of small? I have to ask that.
It's
Why-
a great question, and one I have asked myself. We, like I mentioned, spent a really long time and went through 2 designers to try to figure out the best way that we could get the function that we need for our family and something that's aesthetically and architecturally pleasing to the neighborhood. So we went through other designs. We actually had one in the fall that we previously submitted and withdrew because it ended up looking, there was like a 45-degree angle on half of the house, and it just did not look like it belonged in our neighborhood in, historic New Canaan. So this was the most conservative thing that we could come up with and ask for. And we think that with those with the side wings being under 25 feet,
Right.
we're already sort of minimizing the amount that we are asking for while getting something that, we get enough bedrooms and also don't make our neighborhood look like we put a Tetris block on top of our
So,
house.
so the second floor would be, I assume, bedrooms and bath?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a master bedroom and 3 bedrooms for our kids.
Right, I remember driving by your home about 2 years ago, what is it?
No, it was only like 6 to 9 months ago.
Oh.
It was in the last year
Okay.
that the application was on the agenda, but
Sometimes I get
And, yeah.
confused, is it a house I drop my kids off or is it part of the ZBA? Okay, yeah, okay.
So just kind of in closing, I just want to point out our parcel, like I mentioned before, is very uniquely situated. We are surrounded by town land in the back, on the side, and part of the front of our house. And we specifically crafted this to minimize that loom factor. We actually worked with our next door neighbors, the ones on the side that has that red rectangle on it.
Right,
We've worked with them throughout this process. They're actually one of the main reasons we want to stay on Southwood Drive. They are our best friends and we want to raise our kids together. So this is sort of made in the spirit that it's not affecting anyone negatively around us. It's just woods from the town. And the only neighbor that is really affected is here in support. And they are basically the reason why we're asking in the first place. And I guess the only other thing I would point out is that there's been a bunch of, I'm sure you guys are familiar, a lot of ranch to second floor conversions in our neighborhood.
yeah.
I think we're the last one. There might be one other one on our street that still remains, but we're just kind of doing something modest for our family and aligning with the spirit of the code as much as possible.
This is Jessica Carden. I appreciate the effort you took with this. I always like to think I don't need it, but the effort you took to try to minimize the plan and the request. You do clearly have a challenging lot based on how the house is really positioned and how things were zoned. So, and with the shape of it in general. So I do see where there are hardships that would, in my view, support it. And obviously, having 6 letters from your neighbors in the record is certainly really persuasive that this is something that you've really taken the effort to work with your neighbors to see how you could minimize the aesthetic impact and to really make sure it blends in and also minimize the construction and other things so that they're fully aware of it. So, I think that's a model of how things should be done, and I really appreciate that you took those efforts.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Alex Snyder, I would absolutely reiterate that. Having sat in on some of these, to see this level of cooperation and effort, it's great to see.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rich Carey too again. I'm fine with this. I mean, you did move it in. I mean, one could argue you could eliminate 2 feet on top on both sides to make it, but that's going to take away a bedroom. The lot is irregular. I think you made a considerable effort, and we'll hear from your neighbors supporting it.
Thank you.
So I think you did probably better than most attorneys coming up.
I was wondering the background, graphic design or?
No, I am a lawyer by nature.
See, we had it.
But not-
too.
I know.
Not in this capacity though, I should say.
Very well.
I don't do this by trade. I am a different type of lawyer.
Hear from the neighbors, or I don't know.
Yeah, she's a lawyer. She knows she should stop when she's on top.
He's a lawyer.
You are, what kind of lawyer are you?
Tax.
Okay.
Jessica's attorney.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Attorney, I'm an attorney heavy board. So,
I came to the right place then.
that could count against you too. Someone asked you for an attorney, you say counselor. and then just let them guess what it is.
I don't really practice anymore if that does weigh in favor.
I practice every day. So, yes, is anyone, if you're all set and you have nothing else to say,
No,
we
you can-
generally, we always ask, is anyone for or against the application, either in person or on the screen? We let them speak. After they speak, if you want to come and say something else, respond to them, it's fine. Then we move into business session where we'll discuss it and someone will make a motion one way or the other. You need 4 to 5 votes for a variance. And Alex and Chad are both seated for this. They're alternates, but we need 5 people, so.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
If there's anyone for or against this, if you want to come up and introduce yourself and then let us know what comments you have.
Good evening, everyone. Matt Dowd, here with my wife Megan. We are the neighbors at 56, shown on the survey as sort of the only neighbor that actually has shares a property line with the McElroys. So just to reiterate what Sarah has mentioned throughout this process, they have kept us informed, sought our input, and we have been aware of the evolving plans throughout, can attest to the fact that they have gone through multiple designers and designs to try and achieve, I think, something that fits in very well with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Personally, obviously, we have seen their family grow and know the strains of the house and the need for a bigger house. And so supportive personally, but just also as a property owner in the neighborhood, the addition they are talking about undoubtedly will enhance the value of all of the homes on Southwood, particularly ours, because it is being done in keeping with, what exists on Southwood, not overdone by any stretch. I think they nailed it when it comes to the design and really enhancing the values across the neighborhood. So fully supportive of what they are proposing and the variance they're requesting.
So it's consistent with the neighborhood, you said?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. You want to rebut that or say anything else?
All part of rebuttal, don't you?
Okay, thank you.
No, I think we have 2 other neighbors as
Okay.
well.
If, I guess it's Eileen Leiden and I can't read Dirk, I can't quite read Dirk Dunlap. Do either of you want to, say anything for or against the application, before we close the meeting and go into business session and vote on the application?
I will just reiterate, this is Dirk Dunlap. I own the house with my wife at 85 Southwood Drive. So we're not directly across the street, but we are slightly around the turn. And I just want to reiterate what I said in my letter, that we wholeheartedly support this. We think it's being done with just the right taste for the neighborhood. And we certainly endorse people investing in building homes, especially like this in New Canaan.
Thank you. And, Eileen?
Yes, I live actually across the street from the McElroys, and my husband and I are totally in favor. We agree with their decision. We'd like to see it happen very much.
It's consistent with the neighborhood?
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
So I'd move, you have nothing.
No,
Okay.
nothing further.
So I'd move that we close, the public meeting, on a business session.
Second.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I would move to grant the variance requested based on the unusual shape of the lot with the current size or location of the house, and then the change in the zoning regulations, which restricts really any other way for them to avoid building without actually seeking a level of a variance.
I amended to add to it the orientation of the house.
Yeah, sure.
To the property lines.
I'm in agreement with that. I think they obviously spent a lot of time in coming up with a good design, fits the neighborhood with the input of the neighbors, which is great to see. And, you know, it's in good proportion. They kept it as proportionate as possible to only have a 2-foot variance that's needed. So I'm in favor.
Anyone else? So I would second that motion then.
Okay, second the motion.
Do we want to vote starting with?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay, Gooch in favor,
Alex Snyder in favor.
Rich Caratu in favor?
Cash in favor?
Cardin in favor.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
You have to buy them dinner tonight or?
Thank you.
We have dinner together all the time, so don't worry, we'll get the pizza this weekend.
Well, you may need to find a second legal career in land use, so.
Thank
Yeah, we
you.
need various.
Yeah, it's good for all.
Thank you.
Bye, good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So I just want to note for everyone that January 14th was the date that worked for everyone for the training, and the attorneys are all set. So I will send out a Zoom link probably tomorrow or Wednesday with more information, but it'll be 7 to 9 o'clock on Zoom. And yeah,
PM? Okay.
yeah.
That's, I think, a Tuesday, because we have our
Yeah.
exchange club Wednesday this year on the 15th.
Good. Okay, well, that's really great. They put that together.
Yep.
Appreciate it. It's the first time we've done that. Sounds
Yep.
great.
And so we'll have all 3 attorneys that I work with every so often with zoning. So it's Pete Gelderman, Ira Bloom, and then Nick Bamonte. So they will all be there to, they'll have some sort of presentation for the first half, but then if you have any, questions about procedures or, role of board members, have them jotted down and they'll be happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you.
Great. Minutes?
I guess it's a 4 with Jessica wasn't added. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes?
Nope.
Or comments?
No, nothing for me.
I move to allow the minutes.
Second thing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else on the agenda for tonight?
I think that's everything.
Very quick. Okay.
So we, the Logan Road one is continued, but, we're anticipating, like, we don't have any other, applications for February, but we are anticipating getting some for the March meeting, so we may see if we push Logan Road to the March to give February off, but
Okay.
that's only if the applicant grants the extension.
And then the Knapp Lane one that we heard last month.
They withdrew, they, I believe, are choosing to just rebuild in the exact footprint.
Got it.
And then South Ave, the 3-family, they withdrew, however, I believe they're redesigning the plans and they plan to come back for March, April.
Okay.
And you haven't heard from Richmond? Remember Richmond?
Oh, Richmond Hill, yes, I've been working with them
Okay.
to come up with a remediation plan. So they
Okay.
hired a contractor to start that.
And they don't plan on coming back.
Yeah, they
plan on
don't.
fixing
Okay.
Good update.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I just want to ask Sarah, as far as the zoning book, I printed out, I forgot to bring them,
Yeah.
2 copies from work. Is there a way I can leave, is this a closet that we can leave? Is it appropriate to leave a draft of, so we know we always have one in the room?
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
have a book here.
Oh,
So
okay.
we bring one, so just let us know.
Okay, I could always give
Yeah.
you a couple, because I just ran off a couple and the admins during
Yeah.
the holidays just bind it.
But yeah, we always
Wanna
keep.
buy one
one.
for me too?
Yeah. Break the new one, yeah, they do it in the spiral.
I don't care. Mine's just gonna be,
Okay.
mine's from 2018, I guess.
No, it was the newest version, it was.
It's
They
December
get
2024.
updated kind of semi-regularly,
Yeah.
not always stuff that impacts you
That's why I
guys,
look on
but
the computer.
yep.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
So the meeting's adjourned. Are you guys adjourning?
Yes.
I moved that we adjourn the meeting.
Oh, second.
7:30.